The handcuffs are cold. It's the first thing you notice. Not the weight, but the metallic, biting cold. They bite into the skin of your wrists, the skin that's grown thin and soft over 63 years of baking cookies, grading papers, and holding your son's hand. The sound is the second thing, a sharp, metallic click-click ratchet as the officer tightens them. It's a sound that says, it's over. There is no more discussion. You are no longer Helen Hawthorne, retired principal of Lakeview High, fundraiser for the Children's Hospital, and widow of David Hawthorne. You are a suspect. You are a piece of property being secured. I stood there, on my own perfectly manicured front lawn, next to my award-winning azalea bushes, and I felt the world tilt. My neighbors, the ones I'd exchanged Christmas cards with for 30 years, were peering through their blinds. Mrs. Gable, from 2 doors down, the head of the PTA, had her hand over her mouth. Mr. Henderson, from across the street, was frozen mid-walk, his little dog's leash slack in his hand. They were all staring at me, Helen, being led from my own home, the home David and I built, the home where I hosted the charity teas, in handcuffs. "Mrs. Hawthorne, you're going to have to come with us," the officer said, his voice devoid of any emotion. He was young, younger than my son. He had a hand on my elbow, guiding me toward the squad car, its lights painting my white picket fence in sickening, silent flashes of red and blue. And that's when I saw her. My daughter-in-law, Amber. She was standing on the porch next to my son, Mark. She had her hands pressed to her mouth in a perfect performance of shock and horror. Her shoulders were shaking. Tears, real wet tears, were streaming down her face. But her eyes were not crying. Through her carefully constructed mask of devastation, her eyes were cold and clear and triumphant. She was watching me, and as the officer opened the car door for me, forcing my head down to get in, I saw it. A smile. It was tiny, almost invisible, a slight upward twitch at the corner of her mouth, lasting only a fraction of a second. But I saw it. She had done this. My daughter-in-law, my son's wife, had framed me. Being betrayed by your own family is the deepest wound. It's a poison that rots you from the inside out. My reputation, my freedom, my entire life's work. She tried to take it all in one devastating blow. If you believe that the truth must always come to light, that justice is worth fighting for no matter the cost, please press that like button. Comment truth down below this video and make sure you subscribe to Aunt Millie's Tales. You are going to want to hear exactly how I tore her web of lies apart, piece by bloody piece. It all started, as these things so often do, with money. My late husband, David, was a brilliant, prudent man. He built a small construction empire from nothing here in the suburbs of Chicago, and he left it all in a carefully managed trust for our son, Mark. But he made me the executor. I was the guardian. Mark would inherit it all, but not until he was 45. Until then, any major withdrawals had to be approved by me. David knew our son. He had a heart of gold, but he was impressionable, susceptible to charm. And Amber, his wife of 2 years, was nothing but charm. She was beautiful in that sharp, modern way. All high cheekbones, perfect teeth, and a wardrobe that must have cost a fortune. She was a whirlwind. When Mark first brought her home, I was taken with her too. She was bubbly, she was interested. She'd sit in my kitchen and ask for my recipes, calling me Mom almost immediately. She was the perfect daughter. It was an act, of course, a long, patient, devastating act. The first crack appeared 3 months ago. They invited me over to their new expensive condo in the city for dinner. It was a beautiful place, minimalist and cold, all glass and steel, with a view of the lake that must have cost a fortune. Amber cooked. It was an elaborate 6-course meal, clearly catered, but passed off as her own. It was all a prelude. "Helen," she began, her voice smooth as silk as she refilled my wine glass, "Mark and I have the most incredible opportunity." She launched into a breathless speech about a new fintech investment, a ground floor opportunity with guaranteed returns. It was all buzzwords and smoke. "It's all about digital assets, Helen. It's the future. The people we're in with are, well, they're major players. We need $200,000, Helen," she finished, her smile bright. "Just to get in. It'll double in 6 months. It's for our future. For your future grandchildren." I looked at Mark. He was beaming, already spending the money in his head. "Mom, it's a sure thing. Amber is brilliant with this stuff." I turned back to Amber. "An investment," I said, setting my fork down. "That's wonderful." "I'd be happy to review the prospectus. Send me the business plan, the names of the partners, the SEC filings, and the risk assessment. My lawyer and I will look it over." The smile on Amber's face didn't disappear, but it froze. It became brittle. "Oh," she said, her voice a little tighter. It's not really that kind of formal thing, Helen. It's more of an invitation only." "Then the answer is no," I said, gently but firmly. "David's money, Mark's money, is not for gambling. It is for building. If you can't provide a plan, I can't provide the funds. Your father put that clause in the trust for a reason, Mark. To protect you from sure things." Mark exploded. "Mom, why do you always do this? Why don't you trust me? It's my money. You're just a gatekeeper. You treat me like a child." "I am treating you like a beneficiary of a trust, which is what you are," I said, my patience wearing thin. "This discussion is over." Amber didn't say another word. She just stood up, her face a mask of cold fury, and began clearing the plates. The performance was over. The war had begun. After that night, she became distant. Then, about a month ago, she showed up at my house, alone, holding a bouquet of lilies. My favorites. She was crying. Real, heaving sobs. "Helen, I am so sorry," she wept. "You were right. I was pushy, and I was greedy. Mark and I had a huge fight. I told him you were just being responsible. He's stressed." "I've been stressed. I see now. You're just trying to protect us. Please, can you forgive me?" My heart, the heart of a mother, foolishly softened. I saw a young woman under pressure. I saw my son's wife, begging for forgiveness. I hugged her. I told her, of course. And I let the viper back into my home. She started coming by constantly. "To help," she said. She'd organize my pantry. She'd help me with my files. She'd sit and have tea. "Helen, your medicine cabinet is a disaster," she laughed one day, coming out of the master bathroom. "My late husband's things," I said, my hand instinctively going to my throat. I haven't been able to touch it. It's been 5 years, but..." "Oh, Helen," she said, her voice dripping with sympathy. "You shouldn't have to live with that." "Let me. I'll clean it all out for you. I'll box it up. A fresh start," I let her. I thought it was an act of kindness. I sat downstairs, drinking the tea she made, while she was upstairs, in my most private space, planting the evidence that would destroy my life. I know now what she must have done. She must have taken one of David's old, amber-colored prescription bottles. He had them for his arthritis, emptied it, and filled it with the pills she had bought. Where did she get them? Illegal prescription pills, OxyContin, maybe fentanyl. The kind of things that ruin lives, the kind of things that make the local news. She tucked it away, deep in the back, behind a stack of old towels, waiting for the right moment. And then she made the call. She didn't just call the police. That would have been too simple. No, she was more cruel, more precise. She must have called the anonymous tip line. I can almost hear her, her voice disguised, full of fake concern. Hello? I'm worried about my neighbor, Helen Hawthorne. She's a sweet old lady, but I think she's selling pills. My son said kids from the high school are going to her house. I think she's selling her dead husband's old pain medication to teenagers. That was the masterstroke. The selling to teens part. It wasn't just a possession charge. It was distribution. It was a threat to the community. It guaranteed a warrant. It guaranteed the neighbors would be horrified. It guaranteed my reputation as a lifelong educator would be incinerated. So when the police knocked on my door that Tuesday morning, they weren't there for a wellness check. They were there for a raid. Mrs. Hawthorne? We have a warrant to search the premises. I was stunned. A warrant? For what? I was holding a gardening trowel. I was about to go prune my roses. We received a credible tip, ma'am, that you are in possession of a large quantity of illegal narcotics. I laughed. I actually laughed. Narcotics? Officers, I think there's been a mistake. I'm a retired principal. The strongest thing I have in this house is Earl Grey tea. We're going to have to ask you to wait in the living room, ma'am. They were professional, but they weren't kind. They weren't there to chat. They knew exactly where they were going. The tip had been specific. The anonymous caller stated the pills were likely in the master bathroom. I heard them. I heard the cabinets opening, the sound of plastic bottles clicking. And then, a voice. We've got something. An officer came down the stairs, holding a plastic evidence bag. Inside, it was my husband's old vitamin bottle. But it wasn't vitamins. It was full to the brim with hundreds of small blue pills. Ma'am, the officer said, his eyes now hard. Can you explain this? I've never seen that before in my life, I whispered. My mind was blank with shock. Those aren't mine. That's my husband's bottle. And right on cue, as if in a perfectly scripted movie, Mark's car pulled up. Amber and Mark just happened to be stopping by. Amber ran up the steps, her face a mask of worry. We saw the police cars. Mom, is everything okay? She saw the officer holding the bag, and then the performance of a lifetime. Oh my God, she gasped, her hand flying to her chest. Oh, Helen, no! No, no, no! She turned to Mark, tears filling her eyes. Mark, I was the one who called. I had to. I was so worried. I saw her acting so strangely. She was so secretive. I thought she was just depressed. I didn't think it was this. Mark, my son. He looked at the pills. He looked at his heroic, concerned wife. And then he looked at me. Not with confusion, not with worry, but with disgust. A deep, profound, gut-wrenching disgust. Mom, he said, his voice shaking with a rage I had never heard. How could you? Selling drugs to kids after everything Dad built, after your entire career? You're disgusting. That was it. That was the moment my world ended. The accusation from my son. He believed her. Of course he believed her. She had laid the groundwork for months. The concerned visits, the loving gestures, and I was just the controlling, out-of-touch old woman. Mark, no, I pleaded. She planted it. Amber did this. She's lying. Wow, Mom, Mark sneered, stepping back from me as if I were toxic. Blaming her? Blaming your family? You're sick. You need help. Officer, Do whatever you have to do." "Mrs. Hawthorne," the officer said, pulling out the handcuffs, "you are under arrest for possession with intent to distribute. You have the right to remain silent." The night I spent in that holding cell, it changed me. The smell of disinfectant, stale sweat, and despair. The cold, concrete bench. The fluorescent lights that hummed and flickered and never went out. I was no longer Helen. I was inmate 308A. I was surrounded by genuine criminals, women with hard faces and empty eyes. And I realized Amber wanted me to become one of them. She wanted me discredited, imprisoned, so she and Mark could petition a judge, have me declared incompetent, and take control of the trust. It wasn't just about $200,000. It was about everything. I was released on bail the next morning. It was set at an astronomical $500,000. Given the nature of the crime, distribution to minors, near a school zone, my court-appointed lawyer had mumbled. I had to liquidate a part of the trust to pay the bond. The irony was acidic. Amber was getting her money after all. I returned to a silent house. My neighbor's curtains twitched, but no one came over with a casserole. My phone didn't ring. The local news blog had already run the story. Retired principal, arrested in pills for teens bust. My reputation, my 40-year career of loving and protecting children, was gone. Incinerated in a single day. For 24 hours, I sat in my husband's armchair. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I just thought. I let the grief and the rage wash over me. I let it burn away the soft, kind, trusting parts of me. And what was left was a principal. I was a principal for 30 years. I dealt with liars, cheaters, and bullies every single day of my life. I knew how to read a lie. I knew how to find the truth. Amber? Amber was just a glorified high school bully, and she was an amateur, and I was a professional. I picked up the phone. I didn't call my son. I didn't call my friends. I called the most expensive, most ruthless private investigator in Chicago. "Mr. Kincaid?" I said, my voice hoarse but steady. "My name is Helen Hawthorne. I am being framed for a crime I did not commit. I need you to find everything there is to know about my daughter-in-law, Amber. Not what she says she is. What she is." "These things are expensive, Mrs. Hawthorne," he said. "She didn't do this because she hates me," I said, cutting him off. "She did this for money. Follow the money, find the debt, and find where she got those pills. Spare no expense. Kincaid was worth every penny. He didn't waste time. He was a ghost. He delivered his first report in 48 hours. "You were right, Mrs. Hawthorne," he said over the phone. "Your daughter-in-law isn't an investor. She's an addict. But not pills. Gambling, online sports betting, offshore casinos. She's good at hiding it, but she's deep in the hole. To the tune of over $250,000. She's been paying the interest by selling her jewelry, but the collectors are getting serious." There it was. The motive. The $200,000 wasn't an investment. It was a bailout. When I refused, she moved to Plan B, get me out of the picture entirely. "That's the why," I said. "Now find me the how." Find the pills. That took another 3 days. Kincaid was brilliant. "She's not smart," he said. "She thinks she is, but she's sloppy. She didn't buy the pills locally. Too risky. She drove out of state. But she used her own car." He sent me a file. It was a grainy, time-stamped security video from a gas station in a rundown neighborhood in Gary, Indiana. The timestamp was 2 days before my arrest. It showed Amber's white Mercedes pulling up. A man in a hoodie leaned into her window. She passed him a thick white envelope. He passed her a small, heavy-looking backpack. It was her. It was undeniably her. "But that's not all," Kincaid said, his voice smug. "The dealer she met with? He got picked up 2 days ago on a separate charge. He's looking at 5 years. I paid him a visit. He's very, very willing to tell the cops who the rich lady in the Mercedes was in exchange for a deal. He identified your daughter-in-law from a photo lineup." I looked at the video file. I looked at the PI's signed affidavit from the dealer. I had it. The why and the how. The nail for her coffin. My first instinct was to call Mark, to scream at him, to show him what his perfect wife had done. But I stopped. He hadn't believed me when it was my word against hers. He might not believe a grainy video. He might say I'd paid the PI to fake it. Number. Mark was compromised. I put on my best suit, the navy blue one I always wore for the first day of school. I called my lawyer. Not the public defender, but my real lawyer, the estate lawyer. "Charles," I said, "we're going to the district attorney's office, and we are not leaving until he sees us." The district attorney, a man named Patterson, was not happy to see me. I was just another criminal on his docket. "Mrs. Hawthorne, this is highly irregular. You should be speaking to Mr. Patterson," I said, placing the file on his gleaming desk. "My name is Helen Hawthorne. You are currently prosecuting me for felony drug distribution to minors, and I am here to show you, with evidence, exactly who committed that crime." For 20 minutes, he read. He looked at the bank statements from the offshore accounts. He read the dealer's affidavit, and he watched the video. He watched it 3 times. He didn't speak. Finally, he looked up, his face grim. He pressed the intercom. "Get me the lead detective on the Hawthorne case, now, and get me a warrant for the arrest of Amber Hawthorne. I didn't go to the arrest. I didn't need to. I was at home, in my kitchen, pruning my roses. My revenge was not loud or tearful. It was quiet. It was precise. It was a file." Mr. Kincaid called me. "It's done," he said. "They arrested her. At the mall, she was trying to buy a $5,000 handbag. Fittingly, her credit card was declined. That night, my son came. He didn't knock. He just appeared at my door, looking like a ghost. He was pale, shaking. "Mom?" he whispered. He tried to speak again, but he just broke. He fell to his knees on my doorstep, and his head in his hands, and he sobbed. A terrible, broken sound. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I believed her. I'm so sorry." I stood there looking down at the man my son had become. I didn't move to comfort him. "The cuffs are cold, Mark," I said, my voice not unkind, but not warm. Just tired. "They're very cold. You should remember that. Amber wanted me to spend my retirement in a cell. Instead, she will spend her youth in one. She's facing charges for drug trafficking, filing a false police report, and perjury. She tried to destroy my reputation, but she only succeeded in revealing her own character. My name was cleared. The newspaper ran a full retraction and an apology. My neighbors are baking me casseroles again, but it's different. I'm different. The woman who trusted everyone is gone. The woman who survives is here. She tried to frame me for a crime, but I built a case she could never escape.